New Year's Eve is a time to meet up with your friends, let loose, and forget about the old year. New Year's Day is a time to remember that you can never really get away from your past mistakes, a lesson which is often delivered in the form of a hangover. And whether you are in the UK or here in the US, one of the most popular cures for that is to meet up with your friends, get your story straight, and have a big, greasy meal. Here in the US, that might take the form of something that is often called a 2 by 2 by 2, which is 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, and 2 pieces of bacon, sausage, or ham. But I have learned the English have elevated this big breakfast to an art form called the full breakfast. So that is what I want to try today. A full breakfast is a hefty meal with just enough grease and carbohydrates to mend a sore head and send you back to bed. The composition of the quintessential big breakfast, however, is an understandably contentious issue, composed of up to a dozen elements and varying widely from region to region. This is much more personal preference than textbook definition. It gives lots of options for regional variations, but this is my first time trying it, so I want to stay fairly basic. We're going to need sausages. I have some fresh Irish bangers that I got from a local butcher shop. I'm going to need some rashers of bacon, and I was able to find English bacon at that same butcher shop. I need some tomatoes cut up for frying. I will be using a Canadian heirloom tomato because I think they taste really good. I need button or chestnut mushrooms. I'm going to be using some Baby Bella. I need eggs, checkaroo, and I need a can of beans, which is one of the most odd additions to this breakfast to my mind. But there's one more thing listed in the ingredients here that I don't currently have, and that is black pudding. This is something that I have never had, and I am pretty curious to try. The rest of the stuff I have at least a good idea of what it's going to taste like. However, this book does give a recipe for black pudding to make it yourself, and that is what I'm going to be doing. These earthy, well-spiced blood puddings are traditionally made with oats and the blood and fat of an animal, typically pigs, but sometimes also cattle. The pudding designation harkens back to the original meaning of the word pudding, an ancient term for mixtures of meat, fat, and cereal that were cooked in an animal's stomach. In a black pudding, blood takes the place of meat and serves as an effective and delicious method of preserving and utilizing every bit of the animal. Okay, I am still trying to wrap my head around the British meaning of the word pudding because I did just make a Christmas pudding and now I'm making a black pudding, and they seem like very different things, but also I guess kind of similar. Let me clear this away for now and we will get into making the black pudding. I have preheated the oven to 100 degrees Celsius. Let's get into mixing this. Starting with 600 grams of pork or beef fat, 250 grams of crushed oats, 225 grams of finely diced onions, 12 grams of salt, 12 grams of pepper, which seems excessive. That's what the recipe says. I'm just gonna mix this all up before we get to the star ingredient here. And this is 250 grams of fresh pig's blood. If you can't find fresh, dried is fine, apparently. I was able to get this at my local Vietnamese supermarket, so that's a good place to check for fresh pig's blood if you ever need it. And it goes. Gonna mix this into a nice even consistency. It's a little bit gelatinous, so maybe I'm gonna get something else to mix with. Let's try the hand mixer to get this all together. Yeah, it's just a matter of breaking down the pig's blood because it's kind of gelatinous. So let's just keep mixing until it's all evenly distributed. Okay, evenly distributed. It did throw little drops of blood around. And if anyone has any suggestions for getting blood stains out of a cookbook, let me know. I think this is as good as I'm going to get it distributed though. Okay, next steps. You can either shape the mixture into a large sausage form using natural casings, or stuff it into a 900 gram terrine mold, making sure there are no air pockets. So I will be using a loaf pan basically as my terrine mold. I'm putting this into that. It really is a pretty color if you don't think about the ingredients. Okay, molded. Now what do we do? Wrap the terrine in cling film and steam in a steamer for 45 to 60 minutes. For a steamer, don't really have that. I'm gonna mock one up, rig one up. So I have this big giant roasting pan. I'm gonna put the what's it down into the roasting pan. I should probably add some foil onto the bottom of this, just so this cling wrap on the bottom isn't touching the pan directly, just in case it'll melt on there. Don't think it would, but it might. Around the what's it, I'm gonna fill it with boiling hot water. That's somewhere between a third and halfway full of water in the pan. Now I'm gonna cover the whole jigger with foil. Honestly, I'm kind of seeing the similar DNA to the Christmas pudding here. Like it said, you've got the meat, in this case the blood. You've got a cereal, in this case oats. You've got some fat, pork fat in this case. It's all being combined together and steamed. I might be starting to figure out these British puddings. We'll see. Now this goes into the oven at 100 degrees Celsius, gas marked 1/4 for 45 minutes to an hour. When that's done, I will take it out, refrigerate it overnight, and it will be ready to use tomorrow. It is the next day, so let's get into making this breakfast. So this ended up taking closer to 2 hours steaming in the oven at 100 degrees Celsius for it to get to a good internal temperature all the way through. That might be because of how thick this loaf is. This might be too big of a mold for it. So we've got all the ingredients, the blood pudding, black pudding. Everything is ready to cook real quick and then eat it. It shouldn't be too difficult. It's frying stuff up. Oh, I need to cut the mushrooms and tomatoes. So it says, for the tomatoes, it says plum tomatoes halved lengthwise. This is not a plum tomato, it's a big one. But like I said, I'm using this bigger tomato because I think the heirlooms taste so much better than the plum tomatoes here, in the States at least. So I'm just gonna cut it into quarters. It just says cut the mushrooms to your desired thickness. So I guess I'm just slicing them. All right. I'm gonna need a frying pan. I'm gonna need a saucepan for the beans. Okay, and I set my oven to the keep warm function, and I have a pan here with some foil on the bottom. I'm gonna put this in the oven just so as I make things, I can keep everything warm while I'm getting it all together. That is, that keep warm function is 170 degrees on my oven. It says 80 degrees Celsius, 176 Fahrenheit, right around there, just to keep it warm. Let's move over to the stove. Okay, got my frying pan greased, a little bit of butter for flavor, a little bit of vegetable oil to increase the smoke point. I'm gonna add my sausages and get them frying. The sausages have been going a couple of minutes. Let's add in some bacon. And let me know, does this bacon look right? All right, with the bacon and sausage to the point where I think they look ready, I'm just gonna transfer them to the warming pan. Now it's time to fry up the black pudding, and I'm very curious how this is going to turn out. All right, let's give it a flip and see what it looks like. Whoa, it really did change color, wowzers. Once that's got some good color to it, onto the warming pan. It's very soft. I feel like it would fall apart really easy. Now it's time to fry up the tomato. And I'm gonna toss the mushrooms in too. I don't want to take these mushrooms too far. I think I have a nice caramelization on these tomatoes, so I'm going to move them to the warming tray. While the tomatoes were frying, I just toasted a piece of bread and buttered it. So before I get the eggs frying, I'm going to attempt to make some tea in a somewhat correct manner. I have PG Tips, which I believe is British. It says made in England, so 4 bags maybe for that pot. Brought the kettle to a boil. Pouring it over the tea bags, and I'm just gonna let this steep for a bit. All that's left is to fry the eggs and assemble. Okay, let's start building this plate. Toast on the plate. Let's take a sausage, put that right there. Take a tomato, put some bacon down. Trying to make this look appealing. It's hot. Mushrooms, black pudding. Do I need the other sausage? May as well. There's no way I'm gonna eat this, but I want to make it look nice and full. Fried egg, fried egg. That looks very different to anything I've ever had before, but also looks delicious. And I put the beans on the side just because I've never tried them before, so I want to taste them separately from everything. before I mix it all together. Let's head to the table. All right, here it is, a full English breakfast. This looks amazing. Hopefully I got everything correct. We'll see. I'm gonna start with some tea. And I always like a little bit of sugar in my tea. And I'm gonna try it with milk. Never tried tea with milk in it before, but just a touch. That's really good. The tea is, it's a nice mellow tea, but it has a rich tea flavor. There's no bitter punch to it, which is excellent. And the milk really mellows it out. That's really pleasant. I will probably put milk in my tea more in the future. What should I start with? Let's start with the black pudding, because that is the thing I am the most interested in. It's tasty. It's very rich. It doesn't taste irony at all. It doesn't have that metallic tang that I was worried about. Sort of a toasted oaty, oniony flavor. Almost like a meatloaf, an American meatloaf. But I definitely like it. Let's try the fried tomato next. That's another one that really weirds me out. It smells nice and tomatoey. Yeah, tasty. I get it. Eating it right after that black pudding, I understand what it's doing on this plate now. It is kind of a more neutral, milder flavor that's sort of like a palate cleanser between the heavy fatty bites. The fried tomato could be just a more mellow, neutral bite. It makes total sense. Let's try some of this bacon. Y'all are gonna have to let me know if this bacon looks correct to you. To my eye, it looks like a standard piece of what I would call bacon with a piece of what I would call Canadian bacon still attached to it. And it doesn't make much sense to me to have them together, but what do I know? Cheers. Okay, bacon's always delicious. It is a little bit saltier than I'm used to, but less smoky. So there's no smoky flavor to it, but the salt level is a little bit higher. I don't know how much of that is just the butcher that I went to and how much of that would be standard, but I like it. Fried mushrooms. That's another thing. That's another one like the fried tomato. A little bit of a palate cleanser between the heavier bites. Going for the banger just by itself. I've only had these in Toad in the Hole, but it's a nice mild breakfast sausage. Not too heavy with the spices, but it's tasty. And I really like the texture of it. It's a nice even consistency. And that leaves the beans that I have not tasted, the Heinz beans. Now, I grew up with baked beans being almost an art form to themselves amongst family members. So, like, barbecue baked beans are a serious thing. People put a lot of money, time, knowledge into making them. And I know this is that's not the same thing as these, but that's what I have to compare it to. So, okay. Very, very, very mild flavor. There's a little bit of sweetness, but there's not a lot of there's no smokiness, no like molasses, none of that in there. But they're tasty, I get it. Let me try a little bit of the black pudding and the beans together. The black pudding tastes a lot more oaty when I mix it with the beans, which is interesting how it changes the flavor. I can definitely dig into this. Got a little bit of egg yolk, a little dippy egg yolk to put some bacon with egg on it. A little bit of beans and toast. Very good. That's very good. Wow. Okay. Okay, I could sit here devouring this. I get it. I get it. It's very, very delicious. I do love the American style, the 2x2x2 style, where it's the pancakes, eggs, and bacon, sausage, or ham. And then you would add like sides, depending on region and preference, like grits, or like maybe a side of biscuits and gravy, a bunch of different stuff. This I really understand. There's so many different things. You could play around with flavor combinations. It's just something just something to tuck into. I can see how it would be amazing when you had a hangover. Let's give it a 9 out of 10. The blood pudding by itself, I'm giving a 7 out of 10. It's okay. I get it. Not going to be my favorite go-to, and part of that's probably my process. So I'll see when I eventually get to Britain and can try the real thing. But altogether, this is an amazing idea. It's a big hearty breakfast. No way I'm going to even eat a quarter of all of this food right now. But I really like the little eggs that are soft on the top to like dip random things in. You've got the fried tomato. It's like a palate cleanser, like after something heavy, like a blood pudding or bacon. You've got the fried mushrooms. Again, kind of a palate cleanser, kind of a texture cleanser. Bravo. Excellent. 9 out of 10 for the whole experience. Thank you so much for watching. If you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps more than you can know. If you have not already and you would like to, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future.